Hey guys, what's up? Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/eggs show. That's EGGSSHOW. Audible has more than 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or just about any device you can imagine. As Eggs listeners, you can download a free audiobook today by visiting audibletrial.com/eggs show.
Bang ding ding, trademark. He come out 6'7" tall. Bang ding ding, 1 star. Bang dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. This is a perfect day.
Woke up to the sound of the garbage truck again. Upstairs neighbor's toilet's leaking on my head. And cars broke down, I missed the bus, there runs a 10. I had a feeling this was a day to stay in bed. I finally left my pad right under Jumbo's cloud roof. A police officer pulled out his gun and said, I said, sir, you got the wrong guy. I guess it's just a perfect day. It's just a perfect day. No, 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 no,
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eggs. Today's guest is Brianna Rooney. Brianna has been the CEO of Techees, a recruiting firm, for the past 9 years. She and her talented team help individuals build successful careers, run better companies, increase profits, and much more to help build some of the most successful companies in the world. Brianna is the author of The Millionaire Recruiter, a book that helps readers achieve career success. Additionally, she's developed a 3-hour training e-course to train individuals on achieving success as a recruiter or in any other field. Brianna has appeared on many podcasts, podcasts and TV, CEO Money TV, Forbes, Enterprise Now, to name a few, and now gracing our airwaves here on Eggs. Allow me to introduce our guest, Brianna Rooney.
Hello, thank you. Love an introduction.
No, not a problem. Thanks for making the time to come on the show, Brianna.
Yeah, no, we apologize. I have to stop apologizing live on the air to all our guests.
Every show that we've done the last 5 weeks, we've apologized for some technical difficulties.
We're so sorry. There's been a technical difficulty.
It's all Brandon's fault, 100%.
Yeah, our producer Brandon's blowing it over here.
Tech, you have to love it and hate it.
So, but anyway, thank you so much for being patient with us getting on the air. We're a little bit running a little bit behind because of technology drama.
Because of Google.
So, yeah, stupid Google. So, anyway, well, Brianna, let's kick this thing off. Let's talk a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what do you do?
Yeah, where should I start?
All right, I know it's a long story. So let's talk a little bit about just who Brianna the human is, where you went to school, what your background is, that kind of thing.
Oh, what I went to school, that's always interesting because I don't really believe in that. But I did go to fashion school. Yeah, you know what? I'm like that annoying kid at summer parties, that wakes up at like 7 o'clock in the morning and goes, hi.
That one. That's friends with your parents, and you're like, why are you talking to them?
Yeah, exactly. All my friends woke up and I'm eating breakfast with their parents.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I don't require a lot of sleep. I exercise at 5:30 in the morning because it makes me feel awesome and keeps me grounded as much as possible. I'm a little bit normal. And super positive, really upbeat. I work really hard, but therefore I expect a lot out of people, which also annoys everyone as well. But that is what it is. I mean, I feel like in order to be successful, you have to be a little crazy.
It's true.
And that's that.
Well, that's the thing. There's definitely like personality traits of those who are successful and those who, are motivated to work and that kind of stuff. And it's not going to jive with everybody, but it's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 2 kids.
Okay.
2-year-old, 5-year-old, and my husband has a restaurant.
Oh, so you are like super busy then. Outside of just being an entrepreneur running your business, you're also raising 2 little monsters. So
2, exactly.
My boys are finally aging out of that, but I remember 2 and 5, and so now I have 8 and 12. But It's
a whole nother
it's been
set
a
of
minute.
drama.
Yeah, new drama.
Yeah, that I don't know if that sounds as fun, to be honest.
They're not bad. They're pretty fun. They're little humans now, so it's a good time.
Yeah, but he gets to be football coach too.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways,
wow.
So, well, cool. So let's talk about your path into entrepreneurship. So, I mean, you've been doing this for the last 9 years. Is this what you've always done, or did you work somewhere else prior to getting into starting your own thing?
Yeah, I worked at a recruiting firm before, and I completely fell into it. It was just out of accident and pure luck, I think. And I loved it. And then I was making good money. I was young, I was stupid. It was great. And then I just realized that a couple things weren't like jiving with me, which what was going on at the company. And I just quit. And it was really awesome because I was pretty much at the top then. So I think it's kind of cool to leave at the top and be like, bye guys. And everyone was like, whoa, what are you doing? So partied a lot that weekend. My old boss was like, can you come back? Can I work this out? And I said, yeah, for sure. So I just enjoyed myself and enjoyed, me walking out, and thought I was just going to go right back on Tuesday. And I was actually at a Laker game on that Sunday with my stepdad, who's had his own business forever, like 30 years. And he goes, I'm confused. So why are you just going back? I'm like, I don't know, because I make good money and who cares? I don't have a plan. And he goes, okay, but is there anything he does for you you can't do for yourself?
Writes my check.
I don't know. It was an I don't know answer. And I'm like, I don't think so. And of course, I'm like 24, something like 23 or 24. And I don't think anything through. So I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. So on Tuesday, I was expecting the call to go really back to work, because I didn't think too much of it. And that didn't come. So Wednesday morning, I started Techees. Wednesday afternoon, he called for me to come back. And I'm like, sorry, too late. I was already on LegalZoom starting Techees.
You're like, so, I just processed the credit card payment for this document. I have to do it now.
Yeah, should have called Tuesday.
That was honestly what happened.
Really?
Like,
that's what mine would do.
Credit card.
That's awesome. So you started Techees, but at the recruiting firm you were at previously, was that Bay Area also and tech skewing?
All Bay Area. I have stayed true to the Bay, true to tech.
You're kind of hyphy, I see. Got a little too short in you. Hyphy, too short. Sorry, over the head. Anyways, I wanted to ask you. So you started Techees. How did Techees? I did it again. It's in my head.
We had a conversation.
I'm sorry, Techees. You started Techees. How long before it was like profitable and you were able to like pay the bills with it? Because usually as a 23-year-old,
that was profitable within like 3 weeks.
Is it just because you had the business model set up and you knew what you were doing going into it because you worked with the other?
Yeah, the business model. No, that sounded too serious for me back then, but I just knew how to do it. And what's really cool about the recruiting industry is you can go from 0 to hero in like 5 seconds. So I just got really lucky that it happened really fast. And once you get your first big win, it's like, okay, so we can do it again.
By big win, you're talking a client that wants you to staff them for the most part, right?
Well, you get your clients, but no, it's actually when your client hires your candidate.
Oh, okay.
Because now this big check's coming in.
Okay. So you're getting a percentage of, so you're essentially a headhunter, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the gig.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if it was more like you're working with developers or the talent to kind of coach them up and get them job interviews, or if you're actually, how does it work? What's like the actual process? I've never been through something like that.
That is what it does. So we have our clients and they say, we want this particular person. Great. We go find that person. So once we think we have found them, we vet them out, we get them interested in our clients, and then we prep them with their resume, with how to talk in interviews, with how to negotiate. We help. So we do it throughout the entire process. We send the resume over. Once they land the interview, we set that up and we take it from there all the way to the end.
Nice.
Okay. And so how does so I've been headhunted a few times in my industry. So I work in advertising and marketing. And so I've had a few of these, sit downs with these different headhunting organizations. And so, but I guess I've never understood, how does that work for them? They're brokering a deal, I guess, on behalf of me. So company, I guess, paying you guys? Is that how that works? Because you're not actually taking it from the recruit, right?
No, I wish I could figure out a way to do both. But,
Double tap.
yeah, exactly. I love that. No, the company pays us a percentage of the candidate's first year salary.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I guess then, I mean, having worked in the Bay Area, like you probably had already developed a little bit of a network of people to talk to, potential prospects, people like that. Is there competition between agencies, like for individuals, or does like your agency just go out and collect your own new leads, or how does all that work?
Yeah, so back in the day when I first started, there was a ton of competition amongst recruiting agencies where like we used to go off the job boards. So as opposed to hunting ourselves. So like now we're strictly just like on LinkedIn and other ways, referrals and stuff like that. But before it would be job boards. So like we'd get in at 6 a.m. We would scrape the job boards, meaning we would go and find the resumes of the people we liked and wanted to talk to. We would actually send spam out their resumes prior.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
You'd find the resumes and you try and find a job for them and then call them and say, hey, we've got a position for you.
Yep. And we have to convince them to talk to the client. It was bad. Yeah.
Especially when they're settled and they're already kind of in that role or like they're in a job. They probably have a house and their kids and family are all settled and you're here trying to pull them away.
We got something.
Yeah,
well, it's interesting because I mean, the types of work that I've been looking for or had been looking for back in those days were higher level, like senior work, executive work, things like that. And so it was really interesting, just the process going through this stuff with these headhunters. And the people that I was talking to didn't have a position lined up yet. So they were like building, I guess, a little bit of a resume of, a group of people that they could then shop. And so, I
don't do that. I have a position for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Because ultimately that's why I ended up not going with these people is because I kind of didn't trust them. Like it didn't feel entirely like they had it all worked out, And so it was like, what are you really doing? Like, what are we actually doing right now? Because if you were an employer, if you had a job, you'd be talking to me about a job. Why are you trying to get me to give you a resume and a portfolio and all this stuff? It's like, I don't know. It felt more like doing an interview without a job at the end of the interview.
Right. Without anything good to come out of it.
Yeah. So I've done that a couple times, and both times it was kind of that way. And I was like,
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I don't understand why recruiters operate like that. I think what is cool and what sets us apart is how efficient we are. And that we've realized, like, look, my time's just as valuable as your time. I'm not going to waste either. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to be. I think in sort of all aspects of business or life or whatever, I think that's a good way. Just sort of be respectful of other people's time. I do know that specifically in technology and like here in the Utah Valley, like if Techees is looking for office number 2, I would start looking around in the Silicon Slopes area. I know that developers, like they can't hire them fast enough, and there's not enough of them here. So there's a lot of like great incentives for people to move out here and stuff like that because they just can't get bodies fast enough. Well,
put it this way, we just did a podcast for another company. I run the studio here, and it was diversity and inclusion, and they had the HR managers for a bunch of tech companies here in Salt Lake come and talk on the show, and some of the parent like the benefits package that comes with the job are ridiculous. Like you have leave for a newborn 6 months, and we're going to get you diapers, and we're going to house sit for you, and we're going to get a cleaner to come twice a month. And it's like, really?
It's pretty insane right now. Well, and right now, because it's really a developer's market, like these guys that are working in technology right now can kind of name their own price. And when they're fed up with one place, they just go to the next. And, there's a laundry list of these guys.
Do you represent the developer himself? And if he wants to change clients, are you like a sports agent, for developers?
No, that's exactly that. That's exactly what I do. So even though clients pay my bills, I like to say that, we focus on candidates and where they want to go. And I absolutely like brokerage those deals.
So do you get like repeat clients? Like, I don't like my job here. Try and find me something else.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that, to place someone multiple times.
Okay.
So we've placed many people 3 times throughout their career.
Oh, wow.
We haven't placed anyone 4 times yet, so I'm looking for that one.
That's right. The day is young. So
Yes.
maybe today. So, but no, I think that's awesome. And actually that idea, or even the model of sort of this sports agency where you're almost a, the developer's representative and you're just constantly shopping for new work for them is kind of an interesting take on recruiting. That's an interesting
Yeah,
idea.
exactly. And it works out both ways. And the clients know it too. And I think that's also why we have such high profile clients, is because they want to make sure that we don't work with their competition.
Right.
That they don't want to battle up against us, I think is
Right.
what that comes to.
Well, that too. And if your clients, by clients, I mean the person you're finding a job for.
Clients, I'm sorry, is our company.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
Like,
company
so-
that comes to
so
you,
like,
Adobe comes
like-
to them and
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
hey, we
Yeah,
need 12
Google's our
developers.
client.
What I was referring to your client as the person getting the job.
Our candidates.
Your
Okay.
candidates, sorry. If your
Yeah.
candidates are as qualified and skilled as, in AI or whatever the machine learning type stuff, you're pretty much, you can name your rate. You can do whatever you want with them, because if they have the talent or the skill set that your client, Adobe or whoever, is looking for,
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially sky's the limit. You can kind of be that agent for the sports player or whatever. It's crazy to me. It's like I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but there is a fine line, because the client also wants to make sure that you have their back too.
True.
Yeah.
So it's you want to look for the win-win. And I think the win-win is both people are uncomfortable during the negotiation. Like, you want to make sure that they both feel like they won.
So are you a middleman? Do you sit in the
Exactly, I'm the
negotiations?
middleman.
Well, I mean, like during the interview and all that, you're not in the room with them, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not involved in that. No.
Okay.
I'm involved in the beginning, throughout, just setting up. And then at the end is when I either deliver the offers for the companies, or I am helping negotiate with my candidate.
But you do
company.
actually
So-
do some of the negotiation. So if you've got a developer that's moving into the Bay Area that has a nice pedigree, you could say, okay, well, people are paying approximately this. This is what you should ask. Or
for sure.
is that so you coach them up a little bit on the negotiation?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know what the companies can pay,
Right.
but I also make sure that my integrity is really strong here, because if I keep overcharging my clients on somebody,
Then
it is going to backfire like crazy, not only because my client will know, but also because I can't keep upping salaries, because then it messes with the market.
Sure.
And if I mess with the market, I ultimately mess with myself.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't do that at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting though, because I think especially maybe if you're coming from out of market, maybe if you spent some time in the Bay or whatever, you'd have an understanding of, what are people generally getting paid for this type of work. But if you're coming from out of market, if you're trying to move into the Bay Area and maybe up your game a little bit, if you're coming from like a Silicon Slopes and you're looking to make that extra 20%, I think it's good to have somebody that they can rely on for that negotiation help, or just
Oh,
just
for
to
sure.
understand the market,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
people hate negotiating their own salary. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. Yeah, it's the worst because it always feels like you always end up feeling like somebody got screwed, and it's almost never going to be the
you left
client.
money on the table.
Yeah, and so it's and maybe it's not even being screwed over. It is maybe just that money on the table. Like I could have done better. So
Right.
so I think that's great.
What are some of the biggest challenges you have to getting someone to move to the Bay Area? Is the housing pricing a problem? Is traffic? Is living in a city? I mean, I left Seattle just recently because I was getting fed up with the traffic and the red light cameras and all the bullshit that goes in with a big
Yeah,
city.
those are all problems, but not my problem. At the end of the day, the Bay Area, for example, is still the hottest by about 45%
Okay.
ish.
So everyone
That's where
wants to
all
be
the
there
funding's
anyways.
going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are problems. Yeah, there are issues. There's tons of them. There's lots of homeless people there. The streets are disgusting. There's tons of traffic. To buy a house is absurd. But again, it's not my problem. They're just, the salaries are going up, and I'm still negotiating them, and people are still opening offices there, and it kind of is what it is.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So can you talk about people who, I mean, obviously you sort of jumped into this. You obviously went down the stayed kind of in the same industry where you developed some expertise. But what have you discovered along the way in terms of starting your own business? And can you frame that sort of in I guess, give any advice to people looking to start their own businesses, like sort of things that you've had to overcome maybe in getting Techees off the ground? I mean, sounds like you started, kind of hit the ground running, but there's no doubt been some challenges along the way.
There's been lots of challenges. Hiring, I think, and this is why I have a job, I feel, but hiring is one of the biggest challenges. You want to do it quickly, but you want to do it smartly. Is that a word? Smartly? You want to do it smartly.
I like it. Let's make it up.
Well, it's interesting, right? That hiring would be something difficult for you because, it's kind of your gig is hiring, helping people hire.
Exactly. So
it's interesting when it's your own people that's a challenge too.
It's super challenging. And not only that, but let's say you have them, training them is a big challenge, and it takes you away from doing what you do best.
Right.
So then you have to be like, is me training and developing people, is that the best use of my time?
Right.
Well,
and so myself going through this, that has been one of my biggest struggles because I'm very much a doer. I do like to mentor and lead and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I also love closing my own deals.
Well, yeah, it seems like, just from your personality, just in these few moments getting to know you, clearly you're very driven. You're very, and obviously the lifestyle or the, not the lifestyle, but sort of the ethos of Techees is clearly Brianna. It's an extension of you. And so the work that you guys are doing, so, it makes sense that, training could be a real difficulty because you're trying to capture what you've got and put it in a bottle that you can then dump on your new recruits.
Well, I think that's the same story for any type of person who's in the hiring position. Mm-hmm. It's like the studio. This is my baby, and now Brandon's taken over it. And it's like, screw that guy.
Stop messing with my baby.
But it really is. It's like whether it's a studio, whether it's a tech job, or whether it's a graphic designer, taking someone on and trying to teach them to do what you do, you're always going to have your own way. You're always going to have your own approach on things, and you kind of have to step back and let them kind of figure it out themselves, and then coach as needed.
Yeah. So I guess to that end, what sort of qualities do you look for when you are hiring and recruiting?
This is a good one. So we actually just opened our third office last Monday.
Nice. Congrats.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, so I feel like, hopefully, knock on wood, that I've got this kind of down with hiring. But really, I think the correlation through every single successful person that I've had here has been work ethic. Because they're all so super different. And for many years, I just tried to find my clone. So I'm like, oh, I'm sure I could just find anybody, to do this. And if they have this personality, then this is the way to go. But that's just not that. First of all, I hope there's no other Briannas out there. But it's work ethic, and it's being organized and wanting more for yourself.
Yeah, but you're never going to get that person that wakes up at 5:30 to go running like you do. It's like
I think a lot of people do that.
Well, you know what I mean. But
they're crazy people, but there are a lot of people that do it.
People that
of course. Brandon, our producer guy over here, is like, of course, everybody gets up at 5:30 and works out. So
it feels good. Why not?
What I was getting at was no one is going to put the same amount of effort into your business as you are. Whether it's an employee or even a partner, partner's a little different scenario, but they don't have the vested interest in the business. So for someone to take it and run with it like you would, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So the struggle is definitely, especially since we're technically salespeople, even though we build relationships, we're relationship builders, we're still technically paid by sales.
Yeah.
And so I think to get a salesperson to wear the company hat, that's when it gets difficult. And that's been my challenge and my focus this year, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So when you, it's just interesting you say you opened a new office. What did that take? How, what kind of step did it take? When did you know you had grown enough to justify a second office, that sort of thing? And what challenges came along with that?
Well, and coming up with another location, that's a whole nother list of expenses too,
Well, I think I've done it pretty smart so far.
They're all virtual.
What I did. Yeah, really smartly. So I've been at 15 people before, and we were all in the same suite because it's about 2,500 square feet. Uh-huh. It totally fits. It's not an issue. No one's bumping into each other or anything, but it was a cluster and chaotic and awful. And our culture is very work hard, play hard thing. We actually have a bar in the office. We have
I love it.
All those things. Very cool. Fun. But no, everyone forgot, like, oh wait, this is work.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that. So I cleaned shop, actually got rid of my business partner, thank God, all those things, and then got small again. And so I was like, didn't really want to grow, but the demand is so strong that it was actually like, I was doing myself a disservice by not growing. It was a dumb mistake. And so I was finally like, okay, a year ago, I came up with this training course, which is the 3-hour bootcamp e-course thing. And it's been amazing that I was like, wait a minute, if I can train people that I don't even know to do this, why wouldn't I do it and open up another office?
Yeah.
So I got the infrastructure in place with the help of a few very key people. And we opened up the second office just in January. And it went so well, so quickly that I was like, oh, let's do this again. And that's why we decided just like 7 months later to do it again. And by doing the different office does not mean we do anything different. We're actually all in the same building. It's just that with the separation, it's been key and it's been very efficient, very productive.
You know, I bet you it's kind of like the competition type mentality, like having them in different, you're kind of creating like a group of sales guys that are there. This is my team. This is my team. This is my team. And now you're competing against each other. So it's probably helping.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all work together as one big team, but you're right. There is different dynamics in every office and I love it. And they feed off of each other and they also train each other and collaborate really well. Whereas when they're all together in one, people get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know, with the bar there, it turns into quite the party with 15 heads running around drinking. Turns into a whole thing. Hey, so I wondered I don't know if this is your experience in the ad agency business where I live, there's sort of a couple key breakpoints where business gets real hard. Like it's pretty easy to grow up to about 5 and then up to about 15 and then up to about 30. Was that your experience too? Is that there's sort of some pain points where in order to scale, you're hitting, I mean, some of it's business and logistic issues, some of it's people issues, some of it's, there's a lot of different things, but do you have sort of those sort of similar breakpoints where to get from 5 to 6 employees is a big step versus 4 to 5?
Yeah. So I won't go over 6 to 8 in one space, like ever. I just won't do it. I think a solid team of 6 is more powerful than a team of 12
What's
that's
a
together.
solid team of 6 look like? Is that 4 sales guys and a secretary and a helper kind of person, or is it all sales guys?
I mean, like we have a coordinator. So yeah, it's basically like rocking 6 recruiters at the same level.
Okay.
And I won't go more than that.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So on the website, you mentioned that you guys do a lot of team building with classes, games, things like that. I assume this is part of why the morale is up. And
you better not have a trust fall in that program because
she's in San Francisco. Of course, she's a trust fall.
Actually, but one of my favorite games is we did like what we call mind sweep, and we blindfold each other, and like we have all these crazy items throughout the office, and we gotta like go left, go right, go left, stuff like that. But because we're so competitive, we time it and we break off in teams.
I broke my arm at the office today.
Yeah. Oh, I've definitely had moments like that where like, I'm going to get sued for that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm sure that building that culture is a big part of this whole thing, right? And it sounds like maybe that was a little bit your personality in the beginning, is you're just kind of a work hard, play hard, kind of a fun person when you're not at work. I mean, I've seen some of the photos on the website. I think unicorn costumes and all kinds of crazy things are around.
I need to look at this website.
And so, but I mean, I guess all that stuff amalgamates into one corporate culture that sort of allows you to grow and allows people to sort of buy into what you're doing. I mean, I think with salespeople especially, there's a lot of opportunity for people to become kind of transient, where they jump, place to place to place because there's no loyalty. So can you talk about sort of how these things manifest into sort of loyalty? Like, do you have people that stick with you, or are they bailing all the time?
I have my chief growth officer has been with me for almost 8 years. I have another one is 6 and another one 5, 2 other ones 4. I have people that stick with me for a long time. And I'm very fortunate for that. So I think that that's going to be a common denominator. And the reason is, I very much take care of them, as in I have, a really generous matching 401k.
That's awesome.
We do lunches, on the regular, and like good lunches. I'm not talking like we go like pick up a sandwich or something. We go like sit down, have cocktails.
We go
stuff
to
like
Jimmy John's. That's some
well,
good
I don't know. I was going to say downtown.
The Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Downtown, downtown San Francisco, a bowl of chowder is going to cost you, $8 or $12. I mean, every meal's a good meal. So,
yeah.
So, well, that's cool. No, continue.
Oh, no. I was going to say, our fully stocked fridge and snacks and, all those things, like I said, mentioned a bar. But yeah, I think those are all really important. And then, and also I make sure I invest in their personal growth, which will help them. Like there's tons of statistics that say how much it helps them in their career. So for example, this Friday, we're starting an 8-course workshop that is involving emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And it's 3 hours on Friday, and we're going to do it every 2 weeks for, 8 sessions. And I think that people are going to really benefit from that. And yeah, that takes away from work, but it builds us stronger as a unit and as individuals. And I think it's important.
Do you provide healthcare benefits, all that stuff too? Or
Oh, of course. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've got great healthcare. Dentist, orthodontist.
Well, so what are your thoughts? So there's a lot of stuff going around in the news right now, and I think it all sort of stems from the Bay Area, so I'm sure you're acutely used to it. But
let me hear it.
All this stuff, well, I mean, it's not that new a concept. I'm just interested in your take. But, so everybody is doing sort of the all-you-can-eat snacks, all the, the whatevers, all these things around the
Unlimited
office.
vacation.
A couple days a week, they're bringing the self-help dogs around that you can pet or whatever. But like,
hey,
what do you think?
Knock on the dog, man.
So I think the original impulse is that these things would be so attractive that if by offering these kinds of things, they're, they might be able to lure better talent or get people to stay, keep some, have people retain a little better. But I think as it's become a little bit more ubiquitous, because now everybody's kind of doing it.
Exactly. So then what's special?
But I think we're maybe finding that it actually doesn't really have that much to do with it. Like that's not actually where people get their job satisfaction from. Have you had any experience around that? I mean, obviously those perks are nice, but I mean, do you think that is the driving factor that keeps people at work, or is it really more to do with sort of like the personal relationships they develop in the office or with the staff or with the team, or what do you think it is that leads to real retention versus just today is Birkenstock Tuesday?
Well, so I think that it matters about how the company handles those perks. So just like the whole like diversity inclusion thing, right? Everyone wants their diversity hires, but no one cares enough to, shouldn't say no one, but a lot of people don't care enough to have inclusion plans. So therefore it's irrelevant. So just like with these perks, people have them, but why do you have them? Do you have them because you truly want to take care of your employees and make them feel valued? Or do you just have them because you think you need to have them and you just plop them in there?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen it both ways. And so it's kind of interesting to see how people handle it. So I think that's a good point, that nuance between just having them there and then how people, just I guess how as an employer you handle those things.
Right, yeah. Is that truly your culture, or are you doing it because you think you have to?
Right. No, I love
So
it.
I think that becomes pretty obvious to people. Like, do you really care about me, kind of a thing?
Yeah, eventually you're not going to stay for the free Cliff Bars.
So
I hope not.
Well, if they're doing Cliff Bars, then she really cares about you. You mentioned diversity and inclusion. This seems to be the hot topic right now, especially in the HR departments.
Well, and especially in technology as well.
Especially in technology.
Big time.
How are you handling that? As a recruiter, your clients, the bigger names like the Adobes and those kind of people, do they have like, okay, we have 5 people that need to be this, 5 people that need to be that? Do you have to kind of like jump through hurdles like that, or do you just kind of, this is your best candidate, you should go with them?
Yeah,
that's how it should be.
This is something that gives me the chills in all the wrong ways.
All right.
So this started.
If you had $1 for every time Mike hears that.
Yeah. So. 2.5 years ago, we started getting phone calls about this. About, hey, do you have any women? Hey, we can only work with you if you send us women. We can only work with you if you send us diversity. There has been so many no-nos that I could fully sue a few companies for that, or put them on blast, whatever, that it's really unfortunate that it's come to this. However, in software engineering, they have proven statistics that show that on the diversity stance, not that many people have a computer science degree.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Yep.
So therefore, of course, the talent pool is going to be smaller for that. Well, all of a sudden companies were like, I'm in trouble now. We don't have, there's just a bunch of white people here, or whatever they want to say, right?
Yeah.
But we've heard it all. We've never thought anything different. We just thought, hey, if it's a good candidate, it's a good candidate. This fits your role. So what I think is going to happen, and hopefully it doesn't, is I think in maybe 5 years, it's going to be the opposite problem.
Really?
Because I have seen diversity candidates get paid a good $40,000 more
Just to get them on the payroll.
than they would have. So good for them. But now we're going to have the opposite problem pretty soon.
Yeah, it's problematic for the industry. They're
It's
doing
very
this diversity,
problematic.
but like you were saying earlier in our conversation about, there's sort of a price in the market, and fudging the market to accommodate an individual or whatever creates problems throughout the market. So if they are paying these individuals a little bit more, like you said, good for them. Everyone brokers their own deal, so good for them.
Right.
But in terms of the industry, or in terms of that, certain zip, area code, it's going to be problematic, because that's going to run up prices for them. And then if they're not doing that for the non-diverse, or the, whatever we're calling the other guys, then all of a sudden there's another set of that too. So it's
non-diversity people are getting screwed. Yes.
Yeah. And then we'll swing back the other way. So that's it's interesting.
It's totally gonna bite everyone in the ass. I don't like it. But again, I guess take advantage of it if that's what's going on. But then I'll also say that what people don't hear is companies calling us and say, hey, so we need 4+ years experience, but if you have diversity, we'll take 2+ years.
Yeah. See, that to me.
How does that make sense?
Yeah.
And are you telling these people that they're hiring lower because they're diversity? Probably no, of course not.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
It's honestly so nasty that I'm flying to Atlanta in less than 2 weeks to get certified in diversity and inclusion, and to then be a trainer in it, because I want to train my whole staff, certify them, and even go inside companies and start cleaning stuff up, because it's nasty.
There's a lot of it out there. Just having this studio here and having random people come in and talk about different subjects opened my eyes to this topic in general. Like, I didn't even realize it was as big of a deal as it was.
Right. You don't know it's an issue until people start really shouting it from the rooftops, and you hear like,
or you're
oh,
put
you
in
think
front
like
of it
that?
where you know it's there. Like, tech's not my world. I'm a DJ, and I do audio recording and stuff. So it's not coding and all that stuff. I have a little bit of knowledge about it, but I've never been through an interview process. I've never worked in that culture. I've never been a part of something like that. So until you've heard stories of people who've gone through that, or this or that, and heard that, it is a problem. It is this, it is that. And then how the companies are trying to combat it, how the individuals or the hiring policies are changing. It just seems like a very hard thing to kind of everyone to be happy.
I think the good news is, a lot of these companies are just trying to do the best they can. They're trying to figure this out, and they're trying to take care of people, because most of them didn't realize it was an issue until suddenly it's this national issue. Exactly. But I think, I think the good news is that ultimately everybody's trying to do the right thing. The bad news is that it usually manifests, or so far is manifesting, as kind of a, almost reverse racism or reverse discriminatory act.
Yep.
And it's not by any fault. It's just, okay, well, now if we're going to try and show preference to some other group, the flip side of that coin is that the other guys are now being discriminated against. And so it's kind of, you're almost defeating your own purpose.
That equal
so
ground
it's a bummer, because I know people are really trying hard to crack this nut. But it's I think many companies, their impulse is, okay, well, geez, we have to hire 10% more diverse people or whatever. We just have to get them in, and that will solve everything, and then we'll be cool. But they don't even realize that by just saying we have to hire 10 more diverse people, you're judging them on their diversity, or you're choosing them for their diversity.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
like it's defeating the whole thing.
We have some companies that are like, okay, every 3 resumes have to be a diversity candidate.
Well, how does that even happen?
Joking?
It's
the
such
talent
a weird
pool is, let alone.
Yeah, the only people that I know that are, and actually he was a guest on this show. He's in the tech
Ryan
business
Carson.
too. Is this guy Ryan Carson? He runs a company called Treehouse up in Seattle or Portland. And they have, he's basically kind of converted his whole life into trying to improve this situation.
He renamed his social media logins to the correct he/him
He put his pronouns and everything in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so that he's on that.
Yeah, he's like all in on the movement, right? And so, but he's working really hard, and he's actually partnered with a lot of places like Airbnb, Adobe, Nike, some of these places where he's got a training program for coders and programmers where they, are learning, but it's making it more accessible to people from diverse backgrounds. And
That's
so
great.
he's actively working to try and solve this thing. But it's funny because as much as I love Ryan and as much as I love the work he's doing, because I know it's coming, having met him, it's coming from like the most pure place you could imagine. It's just, even at that, now it's a picture of Ryan, this white guy, standing in a room full of African-American people. And it's like, okay, you're trying so hard, and it's like, it's such a difficult thing to try and figure out how to manage, the optics and how it feels, because everybody's just trying to do their best. And so it's like,
I know.
Such a weird thing.
I know it's so hard. And then it's also hard to know like what's really like right and wrong, know? And that's why I am going to be certified, because like in theory, I want to be like, well, can't we all just be good people? Like, isn't this what it's coming to?
Yeah.
But there is considered rights and wrongs.
Yeah.
So I want to know what they are.
Well, you might as well know the rules, right?
I feel like I can go with my gut.
Yeah. It's hard to operate within the rules if you don't know what they are. So anyway,
who's writing the rules to begin with?
Yeah, right. So let's switch gears a little bit. You mentioned earlier that you had thankfully fired your business partner. You've also written about this extensively on platforms like Medium and other places like that. Can you talk about what it's like when, sort of, I guess, to put it in the words of Robert Frost, two roads are diverging in a yellow
So when
wood?
Ryan and I get in an argument, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'll tell you all
Tell me
that.
exactly how this goes. I'll read the article, but tell me
when
exactly how
I need to
this
fire
works.
him, what's the best protocol?
Well, that's funny. My business partner also named Ryan.
Oh,
Coincidence?
perfect.
I'm not sure.
See? Yeah, the
Writing on the wall. Oh, great.
Something about Ryan.
He felt like I fired him.
Really?
He felt like I kicked him out of his own company, and maybe I did, maybe, whatever. But what happens is we had two completely different visions as to how your own business is supposed to go. And he thought that the whole point of opening up your own business is so that people are working and you're not.
Yeah, see, that's not right.
Yeah. And you know what? I get the whole you're making money in your sleep, all that stuff, right? Yes, you want to make money in your sleep. That's fantastic. But it doesn't mean that you're not working yourself. And if you literally think that you can sit back because you've hired people to do your job, that's insane.
Well,
so it got way too far the other way. And then on the other shoe here, like I just took over Slack. I didn't address the issues that we were having. I just took over his role and just felt like empowered by it, I guess. And I was so young and I didn't know any better. I still probably don't know any better. I'm just getting, I did end up getting an executive coach this year, which has totally switched things. But, it just got to be too much. And you got to be, in my opinion, a liability.
Yeah. Were you taking on like some animosity towards him when you would look at all the work that you're doing and all the stuff that he's not doing, and then you're picking up the slack and then feel like, exactly like you said, it's not worth the time, it's not worth the effort to have him on as a partner if he's not doing what he's supposed to, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think for a long time, it's always cool to like vent to somebody because like you said earlier, only you truly know how much blood, sweat, and tears you've put into something. No one else does. So in theory, it was like we were on the same page and I had someone to like go on that with. But really, it was like my blood, sweat, and tears. And he just understood because he was also owner,
listening to you.
So yeah, it's like that only goes so far. And then it became issues because, employees, they're not stupid. They know, they felt the same thing. They felt like he wasn't pulling his share. So it's like if someone had a problem, they came to me.
Yeah.
If someone needed something approved, they came to me. And at first I dug it because it was like, ooh, I'm the favorite. And then it was like, wait, what am I doing? This is too much. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So it went back and forth with me saying like, you need to help, with me going like, oh wait, I'm just going to do it because I do it better than you. So there were those issues. I'm not like completely not to blame. I'm sure I could have handled it differently, but.
Well, so in his situation, I guess in you guys' situation, was he a founder as well? Was he there from the beginning or had he come on at a later point?
So what ended up happening, he was there from the beginning, but it was because I left and then I was starting, and we worked together at the company before. We worked really well together. And so he was like, wait, if you leave, I leave. I'm like, all right, cool. So he left a few days later and was there from the beginning. So it was just like, hey, you want to do it with me? Yeah, sure, cool.
Came on board. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, that's interesting. I think anytime you've got to deal with sort of that internal struggle, it's interesting. How far into how far into Techees were you when this happened?
7 years.
Oh, okay. Ooh. So, I mean, so it was really core, like a fundamental piece of that business at that point. So would you?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's pushed me in a lot of good ways, like with employees, for example. Like he's definitely pushed me outside of my comfort zone in order to grow. So like I said, he wasn't all bad, but we just didn't have, this goes back to work ethic. I just don't think we had the same work ethic.
Yeah. Sure.
And that can't be.
Well, and so when you sort of stepped in as sort of, supreme leader and you took over this thing.
Supreme leader,
started running this operation now in your own vision, where you weren't having to sort of split your vision among a partner. How did business or how did things change? Like, I mean, it sounds like, you've got one of these growth charts that everybody loves, the up and to the right thing. And it's, I mean, do you attribute some of that to, I mean, it seems like the most of the success is coming in these last few years. I mean, do you at least somewhat attribute that to just sort of, I guess, making the water a little less murky by having so much leadership in there?
Absolutely. The first 6 months were very difficult. It was kind of somber in here. Like everyone, because I also cleaned up shop. Like I got rid of the people that I felt were weighing us down, and just everything became really clear. Like the fog started to lift. And I was like, okay, that's got to go. You got to go. You got to go. And then, so there were 6 months of everyone just kind of put their head down and just worked really hard, which was great. But it was, like I said, it was very like uncomfortable a little bit. Right. It was also probably me projecting that, because even though like I felt like I was running it by myself for a while, I was truly running it by myself. So it was one of those things that's like, okay, did I just do the right thing? Because now I really can't blame anyone else if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's me.
And it's funny how things sort of click that way too, though. Like almost, even though it was a scary decision to have to let him go, or however that dissolved, you were able to, I guess, like get some affirmation shortly thereafter that, okay, this is working. That was the right call.
Yep.
It's working.
Well, yeah, it's a sink or swim moment. It's like, how well do I really swim? Okay, let's see.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think people are faced with those moments very often. So I think a lot of times our inclination is to kind of just roll with the punches for a while, even if it sucks. Mm-hmm. Maybe that relationship should have ended 3 years prior, but you kind of sucked it up
absolutely.
and went with it because, it's hard to get rid of somebody, or it's hard to whatever.
When you formed the business initially with him, I mean, did you form it as a partnership, or did you form it as
50-50 LLC?
Now, did he come after you at the end to try and get a bunch of money out of you when you split ways? Or I'm sure that wasn't pleasant. I'm sorry to bring up past trauma.
Yeah. You know what? Looking back, yes, I could have brokered a better deal. But at the time, and as to what provoked me, was I needed it now.
Yeah.
And I had wanted it for years, and he knew that. And we've had multiple conversations about it, and we've came up with own deals throughout the year in order to because I was producing a lot more than he was at the time. And so it's not like it was a surprise. I think he never thought that I was fully going to cut ties, because we're also very close. Families were close. It's like we got married at the same time, about the same year. We had kids at about the same time, stuff like that. Like all those things, you get very close to someone. It's like a marriage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it is, as much as it is a business thing, I mean, it is a relationship. I mean, if you're spending any amount of time, especially this amount of time with any other human, a significant other or whatever, just in any relationship capacity, these kinds of things are the same struggles you would have in a marriage or in a whatever, this when is it time to break up kind of moment.
Yeah,
is exactly
what
you would have, even if it's not a romantic relationship, but it's just a human relationship.
Oh yeah. And it was very difficult. And it was, it's now been a little over 3 years, and he's moved. He started a new, not a new career, but a new job. He really likes it. His family's doing much better. He's doing better as a person. He actually recently thanked me, which I thought was really cool. So although we don't keep in touch nearly, I mean, like I said, we used to be very close. That's not happening and won't happen because it's just one of those things. You break up, you move on. But I know that we wish each other well, and we know that we both made the right decision. So it took a while to get there, but we did get there, which I think is great. And ever since, we have had some pretty record years since.
Awesome.
And I don't think that was a coincidence. I think that I needed to move on as well, because I needed to push myself to it. Like you said, like an uncomfortable, sink or swim moment. What am I really capable of doing? And that has shown now, but it's been a lot of hard work. And I would say definitely the biggest part in my professional career has probably come just this year, which is crazy because it's been 10 years. So, but yet my this last year has been
it's interesting that you say that, because we actually just before we had you on, we had another guest on who's an art director out in New York, and she and I were talking because we both kind of come from similar industries, and I was feeling really bad because she's like 24 and seems to have figured out the world, and I'm like almost 40, and I'm just stumbling into some of the truths that she's already come across. And so, and I'm constantly catching myself going, oh God, I'm so old. How have I figured this? Why did it take me so long to figure this out? And I always have to like lean on this little phrase. I always just say, well, it took a whole lifetime of decisions to get to this moment.
Well,
right? So like, I couldn't have gotten here faster. I couldn't have come up with these conclusions any quicker. Like it was just sort of the natural way that I developed or whatever. And so it sounds a little bit like you're talking about that. It's sort of, you couldn't have gotten to the point where you knew that you were capable of doing that work if you hadn't been pushed to that level first.
And
so like if they had just come to you 5 years prior and said, okay, well now you got to make this business sing, you might not have been prepared to do it.
No.
And so
I've gone through all sorts of things.
Yeah. Well, and it's been interesting because it's totally been changing my perspective on sort of what we would probably commonly call like failures or whatever, because it's totally not. Like, I mean, that's
failures are the best learning experiences.
And that's what everybody says, right? But I guess until you understand it wholly, you don't really grasp that concept that, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting thing.
You got to look at like,
oh, sorry. I think, like when someone goes, oh, it rained on your wedding day. Oh, that's good luck. Okay, that's bullshit.
That's what they say to make you not cry. That's all.
Exactly. Precisely. But when it comes to saying failures are the best experiences, I actually truly believe that. I don't think that's just like some filler.
And that's the thing. It's funny because we sometimes in our society will kind of put people down for failing upwards. And and it's funny because I can think of a few examples where people did fail upwards and they had no business being promoted or whatever. They actually did fail upwards. But this concept that, the only way to take the next step is to have tripped over the prior one, I think there's actually something to that. I mean, like you weren't prepared to advance your business until you had gone through this struggle. Similar things are happening in my business right now that where we've been doing this in one form or another for 15 years, not the podcast, but my business, my agency. But just now in like year 14, all of a sudden things are clicking, it's like, oh, well, God, if I'd have done that 10 years ago, but I wasn't capable. I wasn't ready. I couldn't have done it 10 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. The whole, like, if I would have known what I didn't know now, then I would, it's like all those things. Like I've heard that from my dad, like 1 trillion times. It's like, okay. Yeah. But like I said, this year I got an executive coach.
I was just going to bring that up.
Completely. Like I so over the top recommend that. Like I can't even begin to tell you. It's what's funny too is a lot of it's very common sense, but you don't for some reason know how to put that in your business and really work with it and really work with people and yourself.
What's like one of the key factors that he's pointed out to you that was just like the aha moment, like, oh yeah, no shit. Okay. What is one of those things that that he pointed out to you and you're like, okay, yeah, I should have been doing that for the last 10 years.
Oh, okay. I love this. I have a few, but I'll stick with this one. So, I meet with people, of course, not only to motivate them and tell them about the commissions and, have those moments with them, but I also like to say, hey, well, you should do this, you should do that. This will make you more successful, stuff like that. Well, in those meetings, because I love to talk, I would go on tangents. And after the meeting, I would feel so good about it. I feel like they're pumped, I'm pumped. When in reality, only I'm pumped.
Uh-huh.
They might have listened to me to a certain point, but I was never asking them questions. I was just basically talking at them. And now I realize that those meetings do not go like that.
Right.
You have to ask question after question. And even when they ask you a question because they want
You
advice,
phrase it on them
you
and
then
get it
spin
out of
it
them.
and ask them a question because they need to think for themselves.
Right.
And that's something that you would think like, well, yeah, duh. That's, that was so not common sense to me. And I was like, oh, and those conversations, those meetings that I have now are a little more uncomfortable because I'm really putting the spotlight on them constantly. So I'm having to like sit back and listen to silence for a little bit. And they're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable kind of thing. But they're so productive and so awesome, and they stay with them.
Well, they say it's one of the big things in sales, right? I mean, like, I can't sell you anything. You have to believe you need it. And so, and the only way for that to happen is to sort of extract that need through their questions. And so through this conversation.
It's a discovery process.
Yeah, I mean, you're discovering or helping them uncover themselves what it is they need from you. So, in my business, we're selling design or marketing or whatever. But like, I can't go in and say, oh, well, you should have a social media presence. They have to arrive at that conclusion on their own. And then once they've gotten there, then we can have the conversation about, how we facilitate it or whatever. But so I imagine in your business, it's not unlike that, where, people are having to come to you and basically, tell you what they need so that you know how to accommodate them. So through good question asking, you can get there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's just for starters. And I mean, I even remember when I first went out to get an executive coach, I was really insecure about it. And I don't find myself to be jealous or insecure in regular life. So it was kind of weird. And I wasn't going to like tell anybody, any of those things. And I realized that, no, I need to sign up for, intentional self-improvement
100%.
for forever, basically.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. So can we back up just a minute? I want to try and get just a couple, we've only got about maybe 10 more minutes with you, something like that. And I would like to try and get a couple real actionable things for the people who listen to this and everything. And one of the things is that, as an interview coach, somebody that's helping people get work all the time, do you have any advice that you could give people when they're trying to, go in and try and win one of these pretty high-paying jobs that are also hyper-competitive right now? Are there some qualities you can suggest or ways that they should sort of approach that type of situation?
Yes, there's lots of things. I think number one is don't be desperate. It doesn't matter if you are desperate. You're like a stinky cheese. I think that's an issue. So like if you are actively looking for a job, don't say that. Don't mention it. Yes, you want to get your profile out there. And what's cool is that LinkedIn right now has a very awesome button that says open to opportunities. So it will tell people like myself, recruiters and certain companies that sign up for it, that you have to pay a lot of money for it, but obviously they're looking to hire. It lets them know that you're open to opportunities, but you're doing it on the sly, which means you don't have to.
Right.
And I think that really changes people.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, I've heard that, in not just like this scenario, but in a lot of them, especially, if you're, a young freelancer or whatever, and you're trying to win some business or whatever, that smell of desperation, it's funny what we say without even saying it. The sort of the body language and everything that comes along with it is problematic. So beyond that, I guess, you mentioned also earlier that you've got a couple small kids and you're, the CEO, you've got, I'm sure, plenty of things going on in real life, hobbies, things like that. How do you manage all that stuff? Not to get too like, how does mom handle all this? But I mean, that's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, the way I do is I separate them. I fully, like when I am on mom mode, I am fully on mom mode. Of course, there's exceptions to every rules, like if I have someone is going to accept an offer by 6:30 p.m. whatever, like I might be on my email really quick. I have to take a quick call. Very rare though. Like when I'm off, I'm off. And then obviously you can't just turn off being a mom, so I do keep my phone on just in case school calls or something like that. I think that's really important. But besides that, it's like I'm in it every whatever moment that I'm in, I'm fully in. Like I'm not the mom at the playground that's on the phone ever. That's not me.
No, I think that's good advice. I think so many people have a hard time balancing or, seeking this elusive work-life balance that everybody's talking about. That I think it's really interesting to do that. But I think siloing your things, I actually do something very similar with me and my family and everything. When I'm at work, I'm at work.
Yeah, I turn my phone on
that's
silent.
kind of it.
Dude, he's turned into an asshole lately. I'll text him at 5:05 and I don't hear back from him. Sorry, bro.
That's right. On the way to football. So, all right. Well, let's talk about, I guess, kind of this last thing is let's talk a little bit about your book and what brought that about and, what's going on in there and how people can get into it.
Yeah, I ended up writing the book just based off of like my experience, how I got into it, because I full blown stumbled in it. I had nothing really going on in life. I worked at a bar and I just knew that I was going to be successful and I was really money motivated. And I just happened to get
bartender, money motivated.
Bar, awesome. But, really the way to go. If I could like bartend like once a month, I would dig it.
Yeah, right.
Just for fun because it's awesome, but not a way of life.
Right.
That
getting that across to the bartenders in the industry right now. That's the hard part. Is like, yes, it's fun now, but when you're 40, it's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When you're pregnant and you're behind the bar, probably not a good look.
Yeah. Mom mode makes it pretty tough.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, so I just stumbled it, and I was like, you know what? I had some people reach out and they wanted to know how to get into it. They wanted to hear about the industry. It became a little more common to know about it in college. So I was like, I am no BS. Like, I'll tell you exactly what you like, whatever question you have, I'll answer it full blown honesty, which people love and hate about me. And so
I think that's
what I wanted to put through the book. And randomly I had read a Grant Cardone book, which by the way, I don't endorse him, but he has a lot of interesting tactics or things to say. But what I liked about him is that he is no bullshit. Like, he is just to the point where I'm like, dude, you might need to censor yourself a little bit. But
you should be a little more bullshit.
Yeah. Let's save that. I don't love how he treats his wife. That's another thing. But I read it. He had this little pamphlet, and it was a lot of things were really motivating. And I liked what he had to say about money. And it was something like, why is there a stigma with money? Everyone needs money. Anyone that says they're not money driven is an idiot, basically. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what makes the world go around. Like, you're trying to tell me you can have kids and go on vacation and not make good money? That's bullshit.
Yeah.
So you have to have it. And why do people not like talking about it? It's just so weird. Like, why don't we talk about it in school?
It's ingrained at a young age. I mean, like, most parents aren't going to talk finances with their kids. They're going to just write the checks and pay the bills, and the kids don't know anything about it.
And I think that's wrong.
It should be something taught at the dinner table from day one. They should know how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah, my kids just keep asking until there's no more money left.
Right.
That's their move. So they understand money, and that when there's none left, they can't get whatever thing they want at Zoomies this week.
Until next week.
That's how we talk about it at work or at home. They just keep trying until it's gone.
Yeah.
So
my dad used to make me plant trees back in the day if I wanted money, and I'd be like the 6-year-old kid digging rocks out of holes to get 25
That's great.
It was great. I got good work ethic out of it, but
Yeah.
He's a mediocre arborist.
Yeah, but I couldn't balance the checkbook later on, so I had problems.
Well, cool. All right. Well, hey, Brianna, let's get you out of here. We started a little late, so let's let you go. I guess you just give us a couple quick spots? Where can people find you? Where can they find the book? Where can they find out more information about Techees and everything else?
Yeah, for sure. So do lots of things. But themillionairerecruiter.com is where you can find the book and where you can purchase the 6-week bootcamp e-course, which is super awesome.
Sweet.
And it takes you in 2 different directions. So one, if you're a recruiter, we have a course for that. Just accelerate your career. And then also if you just want to be a recruiter and you want to take a fast track to it to earning more, then we have a course for that, which is cool. But as far as like my main core, recruiting business with engineers, that's techees.com. which is TECHEES.com, not Techees.
Sorry.
I was going to say, you better hurry and buy Techees too, Get that one and point it to the right spot.
So just curious, random question. What's an average salary for a recruiter? Like one of your mid-level guys, what's an expected take-home pay for a year?
Oh, yeah. My bottom. So I have what's called my core recruiters, because obviously I opened 2 offices this year. But, I have 6 core people. And the bottom person on the totem pole is making over 200.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
bad. Well, you find a great market like a San Fran, and they keep you busy, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm the oldest in the office, so they're all doing pretty well for their age.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, Brianna, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate having you on. We're glad we could finally get connected. And
yeah, for sure. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Thanks,
do check out the website. It's techees.com, techees.com. You can find her on LinkedIn, just Brianna Rooney. And on YouTube, it's at The Millionaire Recruiter. And on Twitter, it's at Brianna Rooney 84. So
Cool.
All right. Thanks so much, Brianna. We'll be in touch. And
Thanks. Have an awesome day.
Take
You
care.
too.
Bye-bye. Bye.